So we begin the episode with Daenerys flopping her full deck out on the table and showing all her cards. This opening scene set the stage for the episode really well. The intimidating ranks of Unsullied and the streams of shrieking Dothraki right there forced everyone on the Lannisters' side to fully realize the power Dany holds. And this is what Dany needs. Time is not on her side because she knows there's a threat up north. This balance of danger between Dany and her allies walking into the lion's den and the Lannisters realizing they can never have enough barrels of oil makes the impact of every word spoken have weight. The relationship between Euron and Theon has seemed very separate and small to the surrounding discussion, but we see that Euron's a person who's always going to put his own interests first. He's not going to wait around to have his say. The way he plays the room by amplifying the conflict between him and Cersei when he first rebuts into the conversation and demands a surrender by Theon gives us good reason and Dany good reason to believe that he will actually YOLO out when he feels like he's too threatened by the White Walkers. This shows us, the audience, how Euron projects an image of a crazy impulsive pirate but clearly is very intelligent, which is super dangerous for everyone against him. When Euron was first introduced, I didn't have much hope for him, but now as the season has gone by, I have seen him become the most improved character by far. For sure, he's not the book Euron, but he's a unique, alternate version that brings so much fun into every scene he performs. I originally believed his arc would be throwing a wrench into Dany's invasion plan so that Cersei could hold out till season 8. Not only will him and Cersei be a stick in the mud for Jon's unity plan, but clearly we're going to get an awesome side plot with Theon really bringing out his full character, turning around to the end of his arc and rescuing Yara. So we will be definitely getting more from our favorite smiling pirate. Right from the very beginning, the relationship between the Lannister siblings has been complicated. The dynamic between Jaime and Cersei has been explored a lot, and in this episode we finally see it break. Whenever we see Jaime's character develop and evolve into this person that we want him to be, he always gets sucked back in by this drug of Cersei. Jaime has never been able to control himself around Cersei whatsoever, and it literally took all the characters from across the entire world bonding together in a struggle against death itself for him to finally leave Cersei. Progressively throughout the series, we've seen Cersei become more and more unbound to people, the earth, her children, everything, and Jaime was that last rock keeping her from entirely flying away. One thing I really did like about this Jaime exchange with Cersei was the way that his actions mirrored Tyrion's previously in the episode, how they both called her bluff on threats to death and violence because they know that Cersei's not really there yet. Because we've seen this brought up quite a few times, I feel like that has a lot of foreshadowing for how things are finally going to go down for Cersei. When she's entirely unbound from Jaime, her kids, her morals, everything, and she's surrounded herself with people who only fuel the worst parts of her, like Tyrion brought up.
She knows herself. She chose an advisor who would check her worst impulses instead of feeding them.
She may give the order and actually try to kill her family. When we see that point, that will definitely be a huge indicator that her death is about to come. So it finally happened and we saw the end of Littlefinger. I thought it was going to be something that happened earlier on in the season, but it felt really nice the way they put it here. The slow build-up of this side storyline between the conflict of Arya and Sansa had lots of criticisms all the way through because it seemed like they were acting out of motivation. They were doing weird things that didn't really make sense. Now with this end conclusion and with the theory that they actually were working behind Littlefinger's back to try and draw him out, and they did solve their issues kind of behind the scenes, made those things make a little bit more sense, but they still were a bit off. But one thing that was definitely pulled off immensely well was the actual death of Littlefinger. The way that he did almost everything he could possibly think of to prevent his death was great. He started off with like confusing and wanting to talk to Sansa, and then he tried authority and they get the veil on his side and the audience. He depleted his defense, and then he just started breaking down, crying and begging at Sansa. It was just the immense flood of everything he's used his entire life to try and manipulate and scheme, just hitting a stone wall, because nothing gets through a stoic Stark. I am the one, the way your son don't need a gun to get respect up on the street. So Jon and Daenerys, now this is one immense power couple. With the amount of complexities to the situation that they're both in, the relationship they have to each other being related, and the tense situation they're being put into with the White Walkers coming into the north, there is no way this relationship lasts. If you could say anything about Game of Thrones, they really do know how to build up proper relationship. Whether it's Arya and the Hound, and Littlefinger and Sansa, or Tyrion and Cersei, and Jaime and Bronn, all these different relationships, they build it up and develop it really nicely. But this relationship was hella forced. The only indicator we ever get is from other characters talking about how long they stare at each other for. It feels like it's not bad writing. It definitely feels like they are intentionally making this a shallow, drawn, plot-forced, somewhat maybe even prophecy-forced relationship that's going to crumble and destroy the stereotypes around those relationships we see all throughout fantasy and fiction and fairy tales, and finally give what every Game of Thrones fan loves the show for. Something new. Something bittersweet.
Gotta find my way away from this place. Can you take me now? I want it real.
So with all the characters coming together and reaching conclusions and plots and plans, relationships, setting out, starting up for this whole new race into Season 8, we finally reached the point that has been foreshadowed for 7 seasons. The wall coming down. Thanks for watching. This season has been so incredible, and I'm so glad you guys are here to watch it and enjoy it with me. Your guys' support has allowed me to do my dream and make these videos. I got to fly to VidCon Australia, a different continent, because of your guys' support, so thank you so much. I want to make so many more things for you guys to thank you for the awesome amount of support you give me throughout this entire season. So subscribe and stay tuned, because I've got so many more plans for this channel.
Hey, it's King McKay.